Oh boy. Welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, you can feel it in the air. You can feel it in the tips of your fingers. Ladies and gentlemen, the NFL regular season has officially concluded as of this past Sunday night. The NFL playoffs are fully booked up and sealed, and I'm here to talk about all of it. We got playoffs locked, coaches being fired, and a fresh start to 2026. While this is not the first free refill of 2026, we got a lot to talk about still from the year 2025, and that's all going to be talked about today. As you can see, look at this. Look at this awesome little recreation of myself wearing a I Heart Tomlin t-shirt. I don't have one, but due to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers finding a way to clinch the AFC North, I have to say, hats off to them. Hats off to us. I've never been more stressed out watching this. That's not true. I probably had other moments where I've definitely been a little bit more stressed. But what a game it was. What a game to close out the season of 2025. And now we get into playoff seedings. I'm just excited. I'm very much entertained. I like almost all the matchups, excluding like one that I kind of think would shock me. But any of these games that are coming into these playoffs can go either which way. But today, on Free Refill, I'm not going to be talking so much about the playoffs. That's going to be more of a later in the week category as we get closer to wild card weekend and get into the nitty-gritty of everything. Today is just a day to react to some of the biggest headlines of Week 18. So buckle up, get strapped in, get your popcorn, get ready to hear me talk for at least probably a long time. It's like a Game of Thrones episode every time I'm out here. It's going to be an hour, but you're going to like to listen to my voice because this is let's go, man. Let's go. Starting us off, obviously the main headline. How is it not the biggest headline? The Steelers shocking the Baltimore Ravens. One of the, you could argue, games of the year. I would argue it is. Personally, I would argue that it's game of the year. Just everything about it from the jump. I mean, this was we had a 10-3 game going into halftime, and then this game turned into an absolute shootout in the final quarter. You had Aaron Rodgers playing like him, vintage Aaron Rodgers. Lamar Jackson pretty much carrying his team. I mean, late in that game, I think they should have given the ball more to Derrick Henry. But even without that, Lamar was making clutch throw after clutch throw. And at the very end of the game, I mean, what more could you ask for? Steelers take the lead after a Ravens cornerback slips and falls, leaving Calvin Austin open for the touchdown. And of course, Chris Boswell, who is one of the best, if not the best kicker in the National Football League, misses the extra point. The Steelers then only lead by 2, and Baltimore right there on a 4th and 7. Isaiah Likely makes an absurd catch to get them into field goal range, and they go for the field goal with the rookie Tyler Loop, and he pulls it wide right, and the Pittsburgh Steelers end up as your AFC North champions. Baltimore continues to find ways to lose. And listen, I am 100% here for it. They've found every single way to lose this year, and it is what it is. They have not fully leaned into Derrick Henry this year. They have very much struggled getting him the football when it feels like it should be obvious. It feels like it should be obvious in a lot of these situations, but I had my doubts. I had a lot of doubts going into this game. I had doubts pretty much for the entirety of the last. I even have ever since the start of that Cleveland Cleveland Browns game, I have had doubts about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have had significant frustrations with this team. And you know what? Mike Tomlin gets me to shut up again. He just, as much as I criticize him, and I will always criticize him. It's just who I am. It's just how I've been. But it was a very impressive coaching performance. Speaking of which, Mike Tomlin, so glad to have met you last night. Glad the team got the photo. Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you for making an appearance today. Look, I can't fault what was ultimately an amazing performance. This was, I will say, there were definitely moments where I would have expected, even in those moments, the defense was giving up huge plays to Zay Flowers, and every single moment was like, there's no way. And you know what's funny? I was reading a lot of Steelers fan pages. One of the ones that I follow and I talk with, I just notice a lot of his posts. One of the things that he mentioned was at the end of the game, that drive by Aaron Rodgers, it just felt like there's no way we lose after that. That was just one of those drives that felt like this team was meant to win. This was one of those games that after that drive by Aaron Rodgers, it just felt like that they were going to win. I know I could have said, Luke could easily hit the field goal and we would have lost. But after all of that, it truly did not feel like the Steelers were meant to lose that game. I mean, you had the priest dropping the holy water on the end zone. What does that tell you? There was a divine intervention. There was divine energy. There was Christ-like things happening. And come on. Come on. How can you ask for anything better? That was just peak football. That was a top 10 game of the year. Without question. I mean, when they talk about the top 10, top 20 games in the end of the year, that's going to be at least top 10. I think top 5. I don't know if it's the best game of the year, but it was 100% up there. It was one of the best. I mean, really, again, just another classic chapter in what has been an unbelievable classic rivalry. It was amazing. I see Jay. Jay, welcome in, Jay. Thank you for joining the show. I gotta say, that's great. Came out better than expected. I can't believe it came out as well as it did either, but look at that. Look at me in the Mike Tomlin shirt. Listen, I have more hair in that photo. I've been losing hair since the beginning of it, but this was incredible. Watching Rodgers scramble those few times made my knees hurt. Dude, I that first time he scrambled, I'm like, where is he getting? Like, I thought he was like running laterally, like completely laterally, not gaining yards. I'm like, what are we doing? And then watching him get the 3rd and 9 on that 2-minute drill, I was like, And then of course we didn't get. Like, I would honestly, this game probably could have even been worse than it was for Baltimore, considering Pittsburgh didn't cash in on some opportunities. But I mean, what a game it was. And have you seen the video of Loop's own nephew yelling "miss it" at the? I didn't know. I know. Really, that's crazy. Loop's own nephew against him, man. That's nuts. Can you imagine? Poor Tyler. I mean, yeah, dude. Also, like, no, not like. And again, this is not like every Ravens fan, but this happens like every time Baltimore misses the playoffs. It's like the guy who throws their season gets so much like hate mail. Like, not even hate mail, just literal like Reddit slop where it's just guys like, I'm gonna have sex with your girlfriend because you missed the kick. Like, dude, like, I'm gonna have sex with your wife because you missed the kick. Shut up, man. Get lives. Get real lives. For real, though. Like, that's crazy. Because they did it with Mark Andrews last year. They probably did it with Zay Flowers 2 years ago. I'm not saying that's all Ravens fans, but, like, there are fans of every NFL team that do this. Guys, yeah, it sucks, but it's not that serious. It could never be that serious. Like, what are we doing? Can we have a little, like, humility for, like, 2 seconds? Regardless, it's, I'll tell you, so I was watching that game as well. When I got to, it was around, Rodgers throws a touchdown to Calvin Austin. I am freaking out. I'm jumping up and down. When I see Boswell miss the extra point, I sink to my knees, bro. This game had me on my knees like 2 or 3 different times in the last, 6 minutes. Maybe even more than that. Because when he misses that, I'm on my knees. When we have a 4th and 7, I'm like, it's game over. It's done. Lamar likely catches it, and I thought, that's it. I was on my... I could hear when you can hear everything? I heard everything and nothing at the same time. I only heard the audio of the game. I heard nothing else. My eyes were closed. I was down on all knees. I was so distraught, and I was so blessed when I can't believe it, man. I can't believe it now. I still can't. But we're gonna get Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs as a Pittsburgh Steeler. And you know what? I'm gonna say it. Suck it, New York Jets, man. You took Aaron Rodgers and you made everyone think he couldn't go out and win. He couldn't get things done. Bro just had twice as many wins on his new team, and the Jets are actually somehow worse without him. Just for the record, that's crazy. That's some wild behavior. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. The matchup going into Houston, I think, is going to be an interesting one. I think, listen, the only reason I think it's interesting is just because I don't know how much people trust the Texans' offense going in. We'll see what Pittsburgh ends up doing. I think especially having it at home, it's a lot different than when they've been a weaker wild card team on the road, like a 7 seed or a 6 seed. But being a 4 seed and having that home playoff game, it just makes all the difference. And I'm excited to see what it looks like, what that crowd energy looks like for the first week of the playoffs. It should be interesting. As for Baltimore, I'm going to be honest. We'll get into coaches who should be fired. I know a lot of people are calling for Harbaugh's job. I understand it. I get it. The fact that they didn't use again, they lost a game because of their lack of usage on Derrick Henry. I think that's a big part of it. But I gotta say, it was definitely warranted in this game, but also it wasn't like they weren't moving the football, right? Lamar was still making very impressive plays. At a certain point, you do kind of have to trust your guy to be able to get it done. At a certain point, you have to be able to trust your guy. And they trusted Lamar, but they just didn't trust Derrick Henry enough. That was ultimately, whether that's Harbaugh, whether that's your OC, whoever that is. And remember, let's not forget, Derrick Henry had his fair share of fumble problems early in the year, which is, I think, what contributed to them not trusting Derrick Henry later in the year, which is ultimately foolish reasoning, but if you had to give it a reason, it's probably that. Jay saying, so every former Jets QB is succeeding when on the field, so bet Fields to be MVP. Listen, they succeed when they're not on the Jets, except for some niche situations. But we've seen Geno, Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers. Listen, Justin Fields just need to go to the Jets and then go somewhere else, and then, then he'll be good. He'll go to Atlanta and be fine-ish. Be fine-ish. But we'll get into Atlanta and the Raheem Morris mess a little bit later into the show today. I'm so giddy. I am. I'm so excited that this has happened. Because listen, there were so many times this year where I thought, yeah, we just threw away the division. Yep, division's over. We choked it away. And then every time we come back in, and then we found a way to choke it versus Cleveland. I am just glad that we won this game. If we go into the playoffs and we lose first round, it is what it is. That game was so amazing, and it felt so good to win it. I'm that happy. Sometimes I'm just easy to please, man, and I needed a win. I needed a win, and there it was, and I got it. So I'm happy with that. Moving on to the other big headline of Week 18. The Steelers, of course, couldn't stay AFC North, but a big news in terms of the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Darnold, the former New York Jet, rolls into San Francisco. I think at one point in this game was 19 of 24. I'm going to double check that final stat line. But that was amazing. Double check this final stat line. But to see what Sam did, 20 of 26 for 198. Wasn't crazy. Didn't dominate. Didn't necessarily put the team on his back in this one. But listen, what did he need to do last year to go in Detroit? Just not have a poor performance. And he had a poor performance when they went into Detroit last year. He's clearly learned from that. They went and they beat San Francisco handily. It was a healthy dosage of Kenneth Walker. And listen, they are running the football at the absolute perfect time. It's just the reality. They're doing a fantastic job of running the ball with Kenneth Walker, with Zach Charbonnet. And listen, these are the type of, and again, right now is the perfect time to be running the football effectively, to be able to control the clock, to keep it away from other opponents that may have more explosive offenses. Because listen, I don't want Matthew Stafford on the field for longer than 35 minutes. I don't want Jalen Hurts and the Eagles on the field for more than 35 minutes. I'm probably going to lose just because that time possession is so unbelievably important. And Seattle right now is picking it up at just the perfect time. Mike Macdonald, I think, is a coach of the year, if not the favorite to win it. Me personally, I would give it to him. There are obviously some very good candidates. But what Mike Macdonald has done in his first couple of seasons as the coach of the Seattle Seahawks, it has been incredible. And you've also seen the difference in the Baltimore Ravens defense when he's not there. I mean, no disrespect to Zachary Orr, solid defensive coordinator, just not the same level of performance we had seen in years past, especially when we look at early in the year. So I want to give a lot of credit to him. And as a defensive coach, too, to think what a defensive coach is doing, I think with Mike Macdonald, and I think Clint Kubiak is definitely in a conversation for a head coaching job. This Seattle Seahawks team, they've got talent, no doubt. But I think so much of what they do is just good coaching. I think they're one of the best coach team, one of the most well-coached teams in the NFL, and it's why they have the number 1 seed. And they went into Santa Clara, and they frankly, Mike Macdonald outcoached Kyle Shanahan, and that's not an easy thing to do. To outcoach a guy who a lot of people believe is a top 5 coach in the league, that's just hard to do. Not easy to do. Jay saying Rodgers in the playoffs is a different animal. He's an animal. Sometimes he has shrunk previously, but I think this could be one of those situations where he rises to the occasion. So, I mean, listen, the good news is they're going to be getting DK Metcalf back. It sucks that they'll still be out Darnell Washington. I think that's a big loss still. But with DK Metcalf, if they can get him the ball 10, 12 times in a game, I think that's going to be huge. Obviously, he's going to be matched up with Derek Stingley, so that'll be tough to do. But listen, and really, that's not even what that team is built on. It's Kenneth Gainwell and it's Jaylen Warren. I mean, there's so much better. I think what they've done with utilizing those backs well is impressive. I still have my gripes. People saying Arthur Smith is great. I think Arthur Smith can be very boneheaded, like to 70% of the time. Like 30% of the time, he'll pull out something that's actually like decent. 70, like don't get me wrong, he's better than Matt Canada. Like, he's better than Canada. I think he was better than, well, actually, was he better than Todd Haley? Arguably better, just because I know the talent that Haley had. Oh my God, who was the coach? I don't even like. Matt Canada was so bad, I forgot how bad everyone else was. It wasn't Freddie. I'm thinking Freddie Kitchens, but that was Browns. Like, I remember. I recognize his face. I 100% recognize his face. Fiechner. That's who it was. I thought Fiechner was bad, and then we got Canada, and it actually got worse. That was just absurd. It was ridiculous. But regardless, like honestly, I don't know. Like people think Fiechner was. I thought Fiechner was bad, and then we get to Canada. I was like, what am I watching? But in all seriousness, I think back to just the Seahawks. What they have done, what they have put together. I think, personally, biggest shock of the year. I think the shocking part of this team, in terms of just Jackson Smith and Jigba being the receiver, Sam Darnold repeating similar success to what he had found with Minnesota. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet being a very good duo. The Seahawks offensive line significantly improved from what it was in years past, and a bunch of rookies, such as Warrior, young players like Job. They've got so many different ways to attack you. They've also got veteran leadership on the D-line with guys like Leonard Williams and DeMarcus Lawrence. I'm telling you, whoever goes to Seattle, I don't think you want to go. I really like not want to get matched up with this. Just it's too frightening. I think it's very scary, all things considered. Obviously, of course, that implying that they're 1 seed, but people will think, oh, well, they're not. Like, I think they're more dangerous than Denver. I think they are much more dangerous than the other 1 seed in the Denver Broncos. Just because I know Sam is 100% proven. I think that defense is incredible. They're running the ball at the right time. The one thing I would be concerned about is that as a team who doesn't have playoff experience necessarily with this bunch, that can be a concern. But I still think, like, if they played Green Bay, I think they would win. They're not going to get Chicago, or I don't think there's any way for them to get Chicago or Philly in the first round, no matter how it goes. But if they get Carolina, I think they brutalize them like they did earlier in the year. They somehow get Carolina. If they were to get LA, I think it's close, but I think they'd win, especially if Devontae Adams isn't fully ready to go. And San Francisco's just not healthy enough at this point in the season to end with them. I think the only teams maybe have a shot are like Chicago and Philly. Of course, LA does too. Like, I think LA honestly has the best chance. But if I'm talking about the other two, it feels like a no contest. It really does feel like it's Seattle's conference, which is crazy to think about. But again, all these playoff games, it could really go either way with the matchups we have. Matt Canada sounds like a YouTuber who says it's just a prank, bro. Dude, if he said it was just a prank after putting out, guys, just a prank, man. Just a prank that we're averaging 1.5 yards per play. Like, no, it isn't. Get out. Like, the most Matt Canada thing of all time was the second he got fired, they put up, I think, 400 yards. He was put up 400 yards in the game after the game he got fired. Like, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, folks. Seattle, though, very impressive. I think what's weird is I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe betting-wise, they are the favorite as of right now to win the Super Bowl, which is just, absurd to even think about. I still think that's absurd to think about. It just shocks me. It's incredibly shocking. Anyway, but congratulations to Seattle. They are the 1 seed. San Francisco will end up in the 6. Speaking of seeding, that brings me to actually a very important topic that I got to discuss about what happened this past weekend. So, let's begin. Precursor. Before we got into this, Philadelphia Eagles did not play their starters in the final week of the season and lost. The Bears did play their starters against the Lions and lost, which could have meant Philadelphia gets the 2 seed. And a lot of people would say, well, what does it matter? You don't get a bye week. It matters a lot because if you win, you're guaranteed a home game. Like, the question is, okay, if you had to play Chicago, would you rather play them in your building or would you rather play them in Chicago? I do not want to travel, period. I'd want my playoff games at home. At home, you are supposed to have an advantage. That's the point. You have home field advantage. That's the idea. That's the whole reason you wanted to win the division in the first place. And now you're saying, oh, because now if you go to Chicago and you end up losing, it could have been like, hey, what if we were at home? That game could have been different. Obviously, things are, everything will be hindsight. Everything will be 2020. But it just didn't make sense why you would do that when Chicago had a very losable game in front of them against the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions were far from slouches. They were still, they struggled down the stretch, but they were still at 8-8. It wasn't like they were a 2-win football team. It shocks me at this point for Sirianni to make that call. Now listen, I understand you want your guys healthy and you want your guys rested. And going up against the San Francisco team that's not fully healthy, Philadelphia should be the favorite, and they should win at home. I think I wouldn't be shocked if San Fran won, at all. But Philadelphia at home, 49ers banged up, Trent Williams might not play, Ricky Pearsall might not play. You're in a very good position. Maybe that's what they wanted. Maybe they prefer to play the 49ers, but I gotta be honest, I think Green Bay is by far the weaker of the two teams. I would love... You beat the Packers already in their building earlier this year. Why not? Why not take a matchup with a team you already dominated earlier in the year? Why not shoot for that? If you value your players being healthy, I got nothing against that. I just don't see the real benefit to that rest in that case. Maybe deems that rest important. Maybe he prefers having his guys rested in the final week of the season regardless. But I gotta be honest, I would imagine a matchup with the Packers, who are limping into the playoffs and struggling, is better than a 49ers team that, outside of just losing to Seattle, was on fire for the most part. Like, they were playing incredibly well. So I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure that'll end up being the right call. And if you're Sirianni, like, let's say this, obviously a hypothetical, but let's say Nick Sirianni and the Eagles fall in round 1 to the 49ers and the Bears beat the Packers, and you're looking at it saying, yeah, you know what? The Packers would have probably been a better matchup, and we probably would have won that. Like, I don't really fully understand it. I don't fully understand it, and I think I don't know. I think I'd be a little upset. If I'm an Eagles fan personally, I'm a little upset that they did not try to go for a number 2 seed. Because I think having an extra playoff game matters, and not getting it is massively impactful. I think it could massively impact them if they end up having to go on the road earlier than expected and go to Chicago and try to win, because I think Chicago has got a good chance at winning that one because they already did earlier this year. See where things go, but I got to tell you, I don't know how I feel about Philly's chances, especially because, to be quite honest, I can't name a strong win that Philly has had all year. I mean, unlike last year, there were some strong wins. Buffalo, you kind of snuck out at the last minute. Very much could have lost. So I'm not entirely sure how to feel about it. Seems off to me, personally. I would have played the starters. I would have played the starters regardless of knowing the outcome of the game. It just feels weird to not try to compete for that 2 seed. But we'll see. It may bite Philly in the butt. It may not, and they'll just they might win the Super Bowl again. But I'm going to criticize the decision now, because I do think it was a little ridiculous to not be playing your starters when you could increase your seeding at the end of it if you win the game. Just something to consider. Sorry, Nick. You gotta step up in that situation. I feel like you have to play your starters. Number 4, big main topic. Moving along. NFL coaches have gotten fired. Now, before this, there was a bunch of stories about how many guys were going to keep their jobs. That is now decidedly untrue. We have, I believe, 6 head coaching openings right now in the NFL. Raheem Morris, gone. Thank God. Okay, because I'm going to tell you, I think a lot of Atlanta fans were going to be very annoyed if he kept his job, because literally all they had to do was beat the Jets to win the NFC South. If they beat the New York Jets, the Falcons are NFC South champs, with Kirk Cousins as the starter for half the year. That should bum out Atlanta fans. That bums me out as an individual who just likes good football. I think Atlanta was at least playing hot and fairly well. But that's not okay to have that happen. So, to me, Raheem Morris, I get it. I'm glad he's out. I think it makes sense. Stefanski, fired by Cleveland. Also needed to happen. Personally, I've always felt he's a little bit overrated. I understand that he has gotten the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs twice. I also understand he's had some miserable seasons as being head coach of the team. Like, it's not like they were winning games this year. They weren't winning games last year. They won games 2 years ago when they caught lightning in a bottle with Joe Flacco. Stefanski's not great. He just isn't. I think he's always been a little overrated. I think especially with the news stories, the news cycles that were coming out of Cleveland about him and some weird stuff going on with Shador. And now there's backpedaling, apparently. He said he was like, man, Deshaun Watson, I did not approve of that, when he actively tried to recruit him. I don't know. It feels like I think he might get a job. I definitely think he could get a job with a team that maybe has, like, I wouldn't doubt it if Atlanta picks up the phone and gives him a call. for the 2-time Coach of the Year, but I've never really bought into it. I've never felt it was sustainable. It's always felt a little clunky. It's felt very star power driven, and when he lacks, and even now, this year, Cleveland wasn't great, but they had good players. Like Quinshon Judkins was a nice rookie. Harold Fannin is a nice rookie tight end. Offensively, they had some reasonable talent. They just never really put it all together. And now here we are in 2026. Stefanski now gone. We'll be interested to see who takes that job on for the Cleveland Browns. I'll be interested to see where their coaching search leads them. I'm not really sure where to pair guys. I think let me tell you who I think should get hired. I think Clint Kubiak should get hired. I've already talked about how I love the Jaguars DC, Anthony Campanile. I think he should get a head coaching job. I would make a very strong case to give Saleh a second chance. Because listen, let's not forget that Jets team was 7-4 at one point. It now had 3 wins this year. Let's give Saleh a little bit of credit for what he did there. I think in a better organization, Saleh could be a really legitimate head coach. Even a slightly better organization. He could be at the very least a 9-win season type of coach, at least in his first or second year. I think it's very much in the cards. Other coaches fired. Pete Carroll. Needed to happen. This team was the worst in the league. They're going to have the number 1 overall pick. They need a coach. I think they need an offensive-minded coach. I think they need someone who's going to help make a transition easier for, let's be honest, probably Fernando Mendoza. I don't think it's going to be the kid from Oregon Moore. I just think, now maybe Mendoza's a little, he's not an all-time, he's not an all-time slam dunk prospect, but he's clearly the best quarterback, so the Raiders might just take him. But he's going to have Bowers, going to have Ginty. They're probably going to add a couple more weapons in free agency in the draft. They need to be offensively minded because the reality is you're in a division with Patrick Mahomes. You are in a division with Justin Herbert. You are in a division with Sean Payton and Bo Nix. You have to be able to contend somewhat offensively, and Pete Carroll just was never going to do that. Pete Carroll was outclassed completely in this division. He's an older defensive head coach. It didn't make any sense at this point. You're contending with Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton and Andy Reid. You need to have an offensive guy in the room. You need to have a smart offensive guy. Clint Kubiak, he's available. Why not? Why not consider it? I mean, I certainly would. I think almost every team should at least interview Clint Kubiak just based off what he's done in Seattle. Marcus in the chat. Marcus, welcome into Free Refill episode 33. Marcus saying, let's say Harbaugh gets fired. Do you see him fitting in with the Giants? Personally, John Harbaugh with the Giants, I'm going to have to say, I'd say it's not the worst fit. It's a little bizarre. I think it's a lot of just based on pedigree. I think that's the issue right now. If John Harbaugh gets fired, how much of... Because again, the issue is with some of these coaches is, are you actually coaching your team to at the level or above what they're expected, or do you just have good players and that's what's because I think, listen, Harbaugh made some awful coaching decisions overall by not trusting Derrick Henry, not trusting his best players. If you're going to go to New York, you got to be able to trust a lot of those young guys, especially like Scadaboo, Neighbors, Dart. You're going to have a lot of young guys in that room, and if you don't trust a veteran who's had 12,000 yards rushing in his career, how are you going to trust a bunch of young guys who still have, yes, they've done well, but I think still have a lot to prove. So I just don't know how good of a fit Harbaugh is going to be in New York. I think he might be better in, say, I'm going to preface it, I don't think the Ravens fire him. I really don't. Because they could have easily won that game last night. That game was as close as it could possibly be. As bad as the coaching decisions were in that game, I just don't think it's something that they're going to fire him over. If they struggle again next year, then it's almost a guarantee. But I don't think they will. Personally, I'm going to have to say I don't think he's gone. But if he does get fired, I don't like the Giants as a fit. I would say I don't think maybe Cleveland could hire him in there. I almost like him in Tennessee a little bit more. I'd like to see what he does with the Titans. I think bringing that organization a little bit more stability might be something that like they definitely need it. And I mean, listen, I understand this. The same logic could be said about. I understand that the same logic could be said, like, oh, he's got a young guy in Cam Ward. I just don't feel that that's as nearly as big of a stretch as doing it with a lot of different guys. Because at the very least, when Harbaugh goes in to Tennessee, he's going to have a lot of control of the roster and bring in players that he'd want to bring in. So we'll see where that would go. I don't know. Again, we'd have to see. Plus, Tennessee still has to hire their head coach, so I'm interested to see who gets hired where. And thoughts on Morris going to Carolina to be the DC? Is that already happened? No way. That happened, or if that did happen, I don't hate it, but I don't even know. I'm gonna be honest. Is Carolina's defense mediocre? Because did he get hired? I thought he was just gone. Like I think they also moved off Fontenot, the GM as well. If he were to go, I don't dislike it. I definitely don't dislike having him as a defensive coordinator because I think he's a good coordinator. Like he proved it twice because he got coaching jobs twice. I just don't think he's cut out to be a head coach. Like Josh McDaniels is a great example of this too. There are some guys that are just not coach level. There's a certain level of respect you have for guys. Josh McDaniels has the coordinator respect, but for him as a head coach, he's given it 2 swings and they've both been misses. Raheem Morris the same. I think Raheem Morris, and I could even I would argue, and this is why I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of Brian Flores as my head coach, but I like him as a defensive coordinator. He's an incredible coordinator. I just don't think there are guys in this league who coach teams and there are teams who coordinate. There are guys who do better when they're just because again, as a coach, it's very different. You play to the whole team. You play to every single player on the team, and you also have to have very good oversight. So when you're a guy, you're good at what you do. The problem is you have to build a team. That's kind of the coach's responsibility. Some of these guys know how to build a team, and some of these guys just know how to run plays. And that's way different. Those are 2 very different things in any world. In any conversation that we ever have. You're looking at when you need to build something versus knowing the smaller parts that actually make that system run. And I think as a coach, you have to have knowledge of both. And almost every coach will have knowledge of what they're good at on their side of the ball. Outside of that, you need to be able to figure out how your pieces are going to interlock and become a full team. I just don't think guys like Raheem Morris, Josh McDaniels, and I don't know if Brian Flores, we need to see him get a 4th job. We need to see him go into, or not a 4th, a second head coaching opportunity. We need to see him go into a place, maybe with a better quarterback, maybe with someone he trusts a little more. I think a lot of it, too, is his chemistry, and it's timing. And listen, sometimes it's good chemistry, but it's bad timing. Other times, it's great timing, but there's just no chemistry. It's a darn shame. I think Raheem Morris, though, in Carolina would work. I think they have some good players, too. I mean, they got J.C. Horn, who's been one of the better corners in the league, doesn't really get enough credit. Derek Brown, probably the most underrated interior D lineman. I think with a couple more pieces, they could be an elite, arguably. I think they'd still need an edge rusher. If only they had one of those. They used to. His name was Brian Burns, but not the point. If they can get one more pass rusher, I think they could really be a much scarier unit going into next year. Which, by the way, their year's obviously not over. They are going to be playing the Rams, who they beat. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think it would work. I think a couple more pieces there, plus a defense coordinator like Morris. I could see it. I could see it working. The other big firings, there was 4. There was Stefanski, there was Morris, there was Pete Carroll. Was there one more? There had to have been one. Because I know, obviously, we know that the Giants and the Titans are going to be... Oh, Jonathan Gannon, that's who it was. The Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, very weird stuff. a lot. This is like the first time I think I've actually been not shocked, because I think these coaches should be fired. Like, don't get me wrong, they should be fired. But I was shocked at how many reports were like, yeah, we're probably going to hold on to him. Like, we're going to hold on to Gannon. We're going to hold on to Morris. And I believed it. I bought it. I ate it up. Yum, yum, yum. I was fully convinced that these franchises are going to be bad again next year. No, they made the right call. I think the Falcons made the right call moving off Gannon as well. I think when you start 2-0 and you finish 3-14 and your defense is just bad, like, I understand Connor being hurt early on in the year stinks. But dude, I think it's just, I think the Cardinals are in for a full reset. I think they could move off Kyler Murray. I think they could move off Kyler Murray. I would even argue, and this might be a stretch, I might ask around the league what Marvin Harrison Jr.'s trade value is, because I'll tell you right now, he's not the number one receiver right now. It's very clearly Michael Wilson. And then you have Trey McBride. And if Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't either establish himself as a 1 or an incredibly strong 2, which is really tough to do because I like Michael Wilson, but I don't think he's like crazy good. Like, he's been very impressive and exceeding what I thought his expectations were. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is supposed to be the guy. He's supposed to be wide receiver 1, and he's shown flashes, but not been consistent and not been healthy. So now we end up in a position where it's like, okay, come on, Marvin, you got to step up. I wouldn't doubt if Arizona tries to shop him at some point. I think it's far from impossible. Those are the main 4. The one guy that I am very, very shocked is still a head coach. Is I've said it for the last few weeks now. I'm still shocked that Aaron Glenn is a head coach. This team was worse than last year, where they fired their head coach and GM mid-season. And again, and had 5 wins. This team was worse than that. And they're still keeping Aaron Glenn? He's a defensive coach. They got 0 interceptions. A guy who is supposed to be a very good players coach is supposed to be able to motivate his guys. This team clearly quit. Like, you just saw it at the end of the year. Mitch Trubisky was scoring touchdowns. I thought that was their last chance. I'm like, oh, Allen's not going to play the full game? All right, pick off Trubisky one time. I'll say you can keep the job. 17 games. That's unless we extend the season, unless we expand to 18 sometime sooner rather than later, Jets have a literally unbreakable record. It is by far one of the most embarrassing. It's now, I'm not kidding you, I think it's getting to a point where they are worse than Cleveland. Like, I know Cleveland's dysfunctional. Dude, it's starting to get there. Like, Cleveland, listen, you're never going to beat 40 quarterbacks in 20 years. You're just not. But that is laughable. That is, because you're never living that down. You're never living that down. And listen, you're going to hold on to Aaron Glenn with all this draft capital, with all these draft picks? Why? You don't think Aaron Glenn's the guy. Go out and find some. I don't think he is. And I'm going to be honest, if I'm inside that organization, how can I feel like he is after the way this team played down the stretch? I'm shocked he's still there. I'm shocked he's still there, especially considering some of the available coordinators that are out there. You got a shot. You got a shot to interview Clint Kubiak. You'll have a chance to interview some of these guys, but you're not now because Glenn is gone. Harrison Jr. to the Giants for that 5th pick. Man, a guy can dream. Man, really? Martin Harrison Jr. the Giants for either the 5th overall pick or a 5th round pick? Because Martin Harrison Jr. is not that bad, but I mean, I just think if you're Arizona, you have a certain obligation that if you don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be better than your wide receiver 2 next year, I do think it is worth at least asking what teams would be willing to give up in compensation for him. I just think if you're a team that's rebuilding, I don't even think you keep that. That's not a piece I would. I'm not saying you don't keep him, but you have to consider moving him. That's what I would say. Finally, I know, big round of applause here. I know y'all asked for this. This was very hard for me to do, by the way. Now, this is, again, this was very hard. This is just a generic picture. This isn't necessarily any of them. This was very hard for me to do. This is very hard for a couple reasons. Number one, I am very biased NFL and NBA related. So trying to talk about other sports that I just don't consistently watch nearly as much, I'm going to tell you my top 10 sports moments. For me personally, this is a personal list. This may not be the best, but this is what I have as my top 10, because I know y'all asked for this. So I'm starting. I am starting with my personal top 10, starting at number 10. For me, has to be Shedeur Sanders sliding in the draft. When Shedeur came in, the thought process was he's going to be the second overall pick. Then he slides past that. He slides, like, it is genuinely probably the biggest slide of a quarterback ever. Like, we think Aaron Rodgers slid? No. Shedeur completely fell all the way down the draft board to the point where it was a laughingstock. Like, unbelievable all the way to the 5th round. Like, completely. Like, there were talks Shiloh was going to go before him. It was an insane, like, 3-day stretch of who's going to take Shedeur? 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 And now, listen, I still don't buy in that Shedeur is the guy long-term in Cleveland or even anywhere at this current time based on what I've seen. But the way he completely slid down the draft board is undeniably, I thought, one of the biggest headlines, one of the biggest moments in sports. And I put it at 10 because it is the draft. It's not, like, incredibly nuts, but I think it definitely deserves to be up there. Number 9 for me, I have, like, a bunch of them. There's a bunch of good ones. Number 9 for me. This is for me personally. Aaron Rodgers signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because we all kind of knew it was going to happen. But I didn't, obviously there are certain different moments. But to me, the reason why I like this is, listen, I always felt at the end of the day that the Steelers just needed vet quarterback play. They needed somebody who understood the game a little better. They need someone who's close. Like, listen, I like Russ, but Russ is not the Hall of Famer the way Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. Like, you can make an argument Russ is, Rodgers is. That's the difference. And to have that in this season is so much paid off. And I think considering how this season ended, it definitely deserves, at least for me, a spot on the list. That's just me personally. Number 8. I have a few here because I have like my 10. I'm just trying to like put them into a spot. Remember when we were waiting for the K guy Michael Sanders to get drafted? It was like watching Sanders in the draft. It was nuts. I'm telling you, man, it was so shocking too, because not only we knew it was we knew it was going to happen once after a certain point, and then to see how far it went was completely shocking as well. Number 8 for me, I'm gonna go with. I'm going to go with the French Open. I'm going to go with Carlos Alcaraz. I know that for a lot of people, that's a lot higher, but I was not watching the whole event live. But winning the French Open, dude, that was just... Like, I watched it, and then I went back and watched some of the highlights again, and I said, man, that's just good. That's just good, man. It was two dudes just freaking going off. Pound for pound, bar for bar. I enjoyed watching that. I thought it was a huge moment for him. Just to watch, like, listen, I'm not a big tennis guy, but I know good tennis when I see it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know everything about tennis, but when I'm watching tennis, I thought that was amazing for Alcaraz to be able to get that one. And it's not super high again for me because, again, tennis isn't crazy, but it was probably the first time I got actually watching the Open. And I was like, okay. You got me. That one deserves. Okay. We're here at number 7. Number 7. Ooh, number 7 is tough, man. I'm trying to look because I know these are the 10 I want. You know what? I'm going to put this at 7 because I was just slightly underwhelmed. Number 7 is... Number 7, I'm going to go with the Super Bowl. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles halting the Kansas City. Now, not to say it's not a great moment, because it totally was. It was an incredible moment to watch the potential first ever three-peat get slammed, door shut in the face. But I'm going to put it at 7, just because it was kind of a blowout. It wasn't as close as I would have liked it to have been personally. But that's where I put that one. I put that at 7. And then number 6, I actually have the NBA Finals. I have the NBA Finals just barely a smidgen over the Super Bowl. And I think the reason why is just because it was a Game 7 NBA Finals. And as painful as it was to watch Tyrese Halliburton go down, it was still an overall amazing. Like, even the first 6 games of that series were still incredible. I thought it was an incredible fight by the Indiana Pacers. I still think it deserves a little bit more credit this year at least than the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was big, don't get me wrong. It was very memorable. Seeing Kendrick Lamar's halftime show was great, but I have to go with the one that I felt was more competitive personally, and I'm going to go with the Thunder and the Pacers. The Thunder's toppling the Pacers and NBA Final. Marcel and I was kicked off my tennis team for hitting the ball over the fence every time. I never took it seriously. That's dude. I had someone. There was somebody that it wasn't on our team, but it was someone on one of the other schools. That was a discus, and you know how in Wii Bowling you'll like bowl it backwards, and everyone will go, "Whoa!" There was someone who couldn't actually had so many moments where they would let it slip by them backwards. And it happened so much where that became a thing. Like, people would just watch this one person do discus, and it would slip out of their hand, and they just go, "Whoa!" Oh, man. Tough times being a little discus thrower and having to do that. We now enter the top 5. Gosh. There's some good ones here, too, man. We now enter the top 5. Number 5, I'm going to go with Cena's retirement. I think it was, and here's the thing, I don't think it was great in the sense where I think it was one of the most unbelievable bittersweet endings, because I think sometimes we have this idea that legends are going to go out on top. They very rarely do, and I thought it was pretty incredible to see seeing Cena tap out is one of the tragic, bittersweet stories this year. Not even tragic, but just bittersweet. It was to see a legend that you knew as a kid. For me, as a little dude. Probably smaller, I don't know. But to see that happen, and then see him realize, kind of like the Jonah Hill where it's like dun 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 dun, or Vince McMahon just going. That's what it felt like, and it was I think it was such an iconic one too, because there's definitely going to be a bunch of memes about it as well, but I thought that one deserves to be up there, personally. I thought it had to be top 5. Number 4. This is going to be very controversial towards the end. Number 4 to me was Game 7. Game 7 of the World Series. I know Shohei had a great NLCS, I believe. I know it was incredible to see what he did versus the Brewers, but I believe that's right. But to see what that Game 7 was you guys came out. I was at the casino at the time because we were getting drinks with one of my friends, and the series was on. We were watching it. And, dude, the atmosphere, I think so many, because we're upstate in New York, so it was kind of everybody wants the Blue Jays, and seeing the Dodgers just completely. To think about how many times the Dodgers probably should have lost that World Series. I thought when that pop gets hit up back there, I thought one of them's going to drop it. And teammate Moss is the other one. Will Smith clutch performance. It was just the makings of. It was a perfect storm for the LA Dodgers, and it was being it out and about watching that final game. I only remember 3 or 4 massive moments, and it was because we were walking around the place, so there were 4 different TVs I had seen those different moments on. I was like, oh my gosh. that was like probably one of the best games of baseball I'd ever watched. Personally, I thought it was one of the best games I had ever caught live. I thought it was incredible. And then number 3, my top 3, my number 3 moment has to be Halliburton. I think it has to be Hallie. I think Halliburton in his run, just beating the Cavs the way he did, beating like one of the clutchest playoff runs, if not the clutchest playoff run I really can think of. I think the way all of it went down, just it being against the Knicks, it being an absurd, crazy shot, like Halliburton absolutely carrying his team all the way through it was just unreal to see the momentum that Indiana had gotten in that season. And it really bums, like if they finish the title, I think it's the number 1 moment. 100%. I think the NBA Finals shoots up to being number 1 if Indiana wins that game 7. But they couldn't. Unfortunately, Halliburton goes down with a crushing injury, and it's just not. I really hope he comes back fully healthy, because to see that playoff run, I think to me is one of the best runs I've seen by any NBA team. I thought it was incredible. And then number 2, to me, you could make a case what I'm about to say at number 2 should be number 1. Just because of how iconic it is. But number 2 is Alexander Ovechkin passing Wayne Gretzky in goals. And I think when you think about that, like in any other sport, it'd be like Mahomes passing Brady, right? It would be like, I don't know, Jokic passing LeBron or something crazy. Like, that to me, like, that's the context of it. That's why I think it really could make a case for number 1. It just wasn't something I'd fully devote my time to this year in hockey. But for Ovechkin to get that done, I think speaks to just an amazing record being broken, and just to all-time greats, one of the big 4 sports. I mean, it's just those are the best overall moments. Passing somebody in points, like especially in the major statistics. Like, you can pass people in rebounds, you can pass people in, rush yards, pass yards. When you pass someone in terms of actually putting points on the board, I think those are some of the best moments in terms of records being broken. And it was amazing to see that happen. I think it was an incredible record to be. And number 1, controversial, but to me, the number 1 moment for me this year in sports was Luka getting traded to the LA Lakers. I think that completely blew everybody's mind. I was shocked. Because here's the thing about all these. I know a lot of these moments I was in like certain places and I kind of remember. I know exactly what happened with Luke. I was upstairs. I was like hanging out and like I think I was on my computer just doing last minute work, and I get the notification Luke was traded. I'm like, there's no way this is real. This is not legitimate. There's no way this is a real trade that I'm hearing about. And sure enough, it was. And I am still shocked. I'm like, it still doesn't really feel real. Like, even watching Luka at the number 1, like even thinking about Luka being on the Lakers right now, you look at it and it's so weird. It feels weird to watch still, because literally 1 year ago, he's in Dallas. It just is off-putting. And to me, it was the shock of that moment completely shaking the NBA, completely changing the landscape of it for the next 10 years. This is not just one moment that matters now. This is a moment that we'll be talking about every single NBA season. We'll be talking about it every time the Lakers and the Mavs play each other. We'll be talking about it anytime the Lakers are in the playoffs or the Mavericks are in the playoffs. We're going to be talking about it every single year, and to think of how much it impacted. Because remember, you could argue that's part of the reason that the Mavs got... You could even argue that may have been the reason the Mavs get the number 1 overall pick. Like, I think it's a great headline for the season, but it's also a great headline for years to come. And I think that's personally it. I think there are definitely better, like, overall achievements. And there's definitely a bunch that I missed that I was neglecting to include. Like, like Scotty Scheffler having an incredible golf season. Oh my God, Ricky, what was his name? Ricky Achuli. Rory McIlroy. I was thinking, I don't know why I was saying Ricky. Rory McIlroy as well. Finally winning the Masters was a big one. You've got the incredible run by Jaden Daniels in the playoffs as well. You could make an argument that should have been on here. Even the NFL moments from this season. I mean, there were a bunch as well. So to me, listen, sports is just amazing. There's always going to be great moments. Personally, I think it's my top 10. There are definitely other moments that I would have argued putting on here, but is what it is. There were a bunch of cool ones, though. I missed out also the college football playoff championship, like from last year. Because I kind of forget. It always feels like it was last year, but it technically is last year. Whatever. There's so many good ones. Let me know if I missed any. Let me know if you guys have any particular sports moments that you should have been included. Because I imagine there are definitely some that I missed. It's very hard to. But from what I had been seeing, those were some of the biggest ones for me. I think if I had to pick the best one, though, objectively, I do think it is Ovechkin getting passing Wayne Gretzky. Just objectively, I think that, to me, is such an... Because you have to remember, like, when we talk about greatest of all time, when I say hockey, I think a lot of people go to Gretzky. And for Ovechkin to break that record, I think objectively does make it probably the most impressive. Because, listen, championships are great, but somebody wins the championship every year. Not everyone comes along and breaks a record that's been standing for years, for decades. So I think if you're looking at it from a more objective sense, I do think it is Ovechkin getting the goal record, or breaking Gretzky's record. But you know what? It is what it is. There are always some great sports moments, and I'm glad to always cover them, man. I can't wait. 2026, I'm excited for what's to come. I really am. I'm hyped for the NFL playoffs. I'm going to be hyped for the rest of the NBA season. When baseball once again tips off, for hockey, for all of it, for March Madness, for WNBA, for the Masters. Let's go. It's gonna be a big time. With that, free refills has been an hour 2 minutes. Unless you guys got any other closing remarks, any other last minute comments you want to throw out there, any other things you want to suggest for the next episode or something else, let me know, because I've got lists and I've got ideas, and I'm excited for the sports seasons to continue. So if not, I may have to go off and go over and check out D&E TakeOver after this. Go ahead and watch a little bit. Tune in to see Eric's reaction to the game last night. Ugh, I'm very excited for that. Chelsea, I know you want to get in some baseball. Don Mattingly named new bench coach for the Phillies. A great signing. He's now working for his son who works... he's a great signing. He's now working for his son who works the front office for the Phillies. So he's the bench coach for the Phillies, and he's working for his son. That's crazy. That's kind of interesting. Although, you know what? That's not true. I was gonna say my grandpa kind of works for my dad, but not really. They just kind of own the business. But that should be exciting. Not only does his son work the front office, his son is the GM. Dang. Don Mattingly, dude, father and son duo. I'm excited. Yeah, I definitely gotta get into more baseball. I'm very excited to see. Listen. And here's the thing, I don't have a heavy baseball team that I favor. If I have one, it's the Yankees, because the first baseball game I ever went to was I believe it was a Yankees-Sox game. I went with my late uncle, so that was my first baseball game. He also took me to my first basketball game, which ironically enough was Nets-Raptors. It was back when Lopez was on the Nets, so that's all I remember from that game. That's the only name I remember from back when they played. It was like, okay, yeah, it's Lopez. I think he had a good game too. I want to say he had double-double, but I could be wrong. But I'm very excited to get into baseball and hockey, and it's gonna be a big year. I'm very excited. I'm gonna have Stream East up basically. I mean ESPN up. I mean ESPN and CBS and Fox. I don't know what that is. I don't know what Stream East is. You didn't hear me say that. But I'm super excited, and I hope you guys are too. So I'm gonna get. I think I'm gonna end us there. But I want to thank you guys again for the Rochester Red Wings. Yes, I have been to Rochester Red Wings games, Jay. I actually have been to a few. I've been to. I think I've been to 2 of them. I've been to 2 of them with a friend out in Rochester. But dude, I'm excited for the Rochester Red Wings. Let's go. All right, guys. I think I'll probably see y'all maybe tomorrow. I think we might be doing something. I might be doing something Tuesday, so I will look to have something set up for tomorrow. If not, it'll be Thursday. And outside of that, I hope you all have a blessed evening. I'm gonna go make myself some dinner and tune into some D&E takeover. So appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you hit the like button, share it with somebody else you think would be interested in, and that's all I have. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night. I'll see you later this week. Peace out.